welcome to this LinkedIn interview, Women Making an Impact series. And in this episode, I'm talking to Zsuzsanna. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, but here's what's really interesting about her. According to me, anybody who teaches anything is actually making a massive impact on our world. And Zsuzsanna is an online course. She teaches course creation to business coaches, and she's an online course creation expert. But the interesting thing is, she has been teaching from the age of 4, and she's going to tell us her story today. And Zsuzsanna, thank you for joining me here today. Welcome. So let's get started, and let's have you introduce yourself and share your story with us today.
It's so nice of you to say that. It's interesting that I taught from the age of 4. And then later I realized that there's no teaching. Learning takes place in an engaging environment. So it is because, when you have parents and you are young and they take you to their workplace, you emulate what they do. So both my parents were teachers. And so I went home and then I, taught my teddies. Okay. And then when I got to school, by the time I went to school, I could read and write. So the poorer students, I had to sit by the poorer students and I had to help them.
Okay.
So. And then later on, when my parents got divorced, I was only 16, so I had to find a job to make money to support my mom and us, obviously, not just my mom, but And so I started to teach English. And this is how it started. So officially from the age of 16, but I had this
unofficially.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's sweet. I can imagine you trying to teach everybody, and now that's your business. That's what you do. So after you started officially, then you also joined corporate, and you were in HR and used to create training programs. So tell us a little bit about that.
So when I finished university, before that, when I started to teach English, they were usually company courses, because that was when the socialism ended, and that was when everybody, and we were taught Russian before that, and suddenly everybody had to turn to the West and they had to speak English, because a lot of international companies started to come to Hungary for cheap workforce. Just like in India, you work for the West.
Okay, yes.
But you are lucky enough to start English at a very young age. Yeah. But before that, in Hungary, it was not so. So, and because I spoke English, I had translation and course creation jobs, so to say, in a smaller scale. But later, when they realized that they needed negotiation, intercultural studies, and so on and so forth, and because by then I went to the university with English major, I had all the knowledge there, and then all the competencies that the companies looked for, and so this is how it all started. I was at
you're born, brought up in Hungary, and you've actually seen the transition when socialism ended, and then now we have a very different world, and of course in the last 1 year it's become an even different world. So coming into so I would say my next question was going to be, what is your niche? How did you decide to choose this niche? But yours has happened very naturally.
Yes, I always like to follow my gut, or the instinct that directs me or puts me forward in life. And so after I finished university, I was a freelancer, so I worked for different language schools, and then I saw that there was this gap in the market, this niche in the market. Very young learners, parents wanted their kids to learn English to avoid their fault that they could not, have good paying jobs because they didn't speak English. So that was the boom when everybody wanted their kid to learn English. So I founded a language school for that.
Okay.
Bam, I did it for 15 years. And then obviously when my own child was born, I realized that, okay, I started as a freelancer and I traded all my time for money and I sold all my available slots and I worked round the clock. Then I scaled to have a school and I had, a staff of people that I had to manage. And it was almost like not trading time for money, but still I had to be there. So my son was literally not having a mom. And it hit me really hard when I got the video of his first steps from my husband that, okay, this is our son first step. So it was like, oh my God, I should be there.
Okay.
So that is when, and because previously I have created a lot of blended learning courses, meaning, some learning management systems and some in-class instruction. It meant that I had to realize that there was a way that I could transition online. And that was how I transitioned online, because I could work from home. Yeah. I could organize my business around my life. And for me, the priority is that I'd be there for my son. Yeah. If I teach everybody's kids and I don't teach mine, it's like, the shoemaker's shoe.
Yes, but that's such a, I feel like this is what connects women around the world, literally, right? We feel all of these things, and that actually helps us find ways in which we can still create a business, design our lives in a way that we can kind of be there for our children while also running the business that we want. And yes, and I think that's why entrepreneurship is so so amazing. So tell me, for people who struggle, now this is a question as a coach, I get this: how do I find my passion? How do I now find my niche? These are like very big questions that people are asking, and often I have struggled to find my own niche, I think. What are one or two tips that you can share for people who are struggling to find their niche? What's like a starting point?
The starting point is that this is my my method is called the teacher obvious, and there has to be something so obvious that you don't see because it's so obvious, so close to you. So first you have to try and create a distance between what you offer and who you are.
Okay.
Unless you have this gap that you can observe your talents or skills from, it's almost impossible. I never advise my clients to find the niche in a way that it is their past self, because we don't know if our past self, so the people who affiliate themselves with our past selves, would go on the same trajectory that we went through. So I'd rather say that you have to find a problem that you can solve for this kind of, or these kinds of tools. With.
Yeah.
And then you can start and communicate how you solve that problem, and people will resonate with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah.
And another thing, a lot of the times they say that you have to find a niche and your ideal client by demographical characteristics. It's not so. I see that my 12-year-old have the same problems as my 78-year-old mom in terms of technology or social media. So if you can solve the problem of being too glued to the screen and not knowing what to believe and not believe, and you can help people with it, if you go with the demographics, you are missing out on the two extremes, for instance.
Okay, so what you're saying is also figure out what is this problem that you can solve, and like you said, teacher obvious, like spend that time apart so you don't think that, okay, this is what I'm good at, so let me just do this. So great, thank you for that advice. Moving on, what has been some key challenges that you have faced yourself, and how have you overcome it?
we are our greatest challenge all day, every day, all through our lives. So maybe it was always me wanting to learn more about myself that held me back in certain situations. But the funny thing is that it wasn't until I started to do the thing that I realized, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
So because life somehow pushed me always towards the path that I am on, it's like, oh my God, how have I got here? How could I, keep up with it? So it's always like, for me, it's moving forward is always more difficult than getting started.
Oh, okay. Right. So what is, I'm sure like you work with a lot of coaches. What are some things that anybody who wants to create a course or an offering, what are some things that they should keep in mind when they start to create their offering?
This should be a tangible offer, even if it's a service. Just like with a hairdresser, if you go to the hairdresser with your length of beautiful dark hair,
Hmm.
and you tell the hairdresser that you want ice blonde in one seating, most definitely the hairdresser with all her expertise will tell you it's impossible,
Yeah.
right? So even if the hair salon says the perfect blonde,
Hmm.
you have to be able to create like a tangible, route for people to follow,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
So you go to that salon because you want the perfect blonde, but you have to calculate with the client's beliefs, background knowledge,
Yeah.
history, emotional and intellectual readiness to work with you. So there are a lot of other things that play into it, but you have to have at least a path.
Hmm.
So for instance, for you, the hairdresser might say that, Savita, you need at least 4 or 5 seatings until you become ice blonde. For me, the hairdresser might say, you only need 2,
Yeah.
right? And then make sure that you understand that if we do this, this is the damage that is done to your hair. Are you okay with it?
Hmm.
Because along the way, people will be losing their part of their identity, their comfort zone, whatever it is. So it's
Yeah.
going to be something of a feeling of a loss. And you have to be able to manage that as well.
Right. So, in theory, one size doesn't fit everyone. So, really start to like analyze what you're going to put into the course, keeping in mind your audience. And yeah, and it's a great starting point. There are a lot of things to think about. We think, oh, course ready, there must be takers. And often you've done the work, you put together the course, and there's no one buying it. So, yeah, that's great.
But
Thank
that's not because you put bad things into your course. It's
Yes.
because you haven't learned to communicate the value of that course.
Right, right. Yes, perfect. I'm going to talk to you about this, of course, for my own courses. I love what you've been sharing. And of course, you give a lot of value in your videos, in your podcast. So, what is your advice to new coaches? People who are just coming in, business coaches, or anyone who is going to teach anything. What's your advice to them?
Do it every day, do it with passion, do it on good days, do it on bad days, just do it. It's going to play out in ways you don't even imagine it to be, right? So with practice you become the master of your skill. And I know for some people it sounds like, oh, but where is the freedom or creativity in it? I have to tell you that if you want to build a business, it's not a creative endeavor. So for that, choose a hobby, join a book club or whatever.
Okay.
But for business, you have to strive to create, repeatable processes.
Right.
And the more you fine tune those processes, the more successful you become. And the more you can, honestly, you always build something to be sold, right? Like in a product based business. A course is like that. You build it and then you sell it. It has to live its own life. You don't have to be there, petting it from the right, petting it from the left. Louis Vuitton handbag is a Louis Vuitton handbag. That's it.
Right.
Louis Vuitton won't be chasing after you saying, we need a little stitch right there. We have to do a little bit more like there. No, it's ready. You have to grab it and take it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, amazing. I love your advice. So two more questions before I actually let you go. What does a day in your life look like? Like a behind the scenes. How do you start your day? How do you end your day? What does it look like?
Okay, so I usually wake up around 5:30 to 6, depending on
School.
how I can wake up. Then I walk my dog. Then I get ready for the day with meditation, journaling, coffee, whatever it is. Then I prepare my son for school. When he leaves, then I have different days for different. So I have batch days. On Mondays, I usually don't do interviews, but for you, I have done it because this is my admin day. So this is when I do all the admin work. On Tuesdays, I do the CEO work. So that is when I work on my business. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, I do interviews. I do trainings. I go into my community, paid community, and we have hot seats or calls or whatever it is. I even have an open office hour on Thursdays when anybody can come and ask me anything. I'm there on Zoom or on Google Meets, whichever it is. And then on Friday, I don't work. So I really want to be there for my family also.
Hmm. Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, what is a mantra you live by?
Keep going.
Yeah, you're very consistent. This is something that I have observed. You're very consistent, you're highly engaging, and I feel like that's really something that is difficult for a lot of people. Difficult for a lot, like they don't keep up, right? We do sometimes, we may put out one post, nobody liked it, nobody responded, but
It's
I,
okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have to tell you that the people who become my clients usually are not the people you see commenting or liking or sharing my posts.
Obviously. Oh, okay.
So this is a very I had to learn it very early on when I started out in 2017 as an online course coach, that those people who like, share, and comment are very important part of the community, but they are not the paying clients.
Hmm. As you're sharing that, I'm thinking a lot, I'm thinking that it kind of is true for me as well. And of course, I have a lot of people who are watching. They watch me for a while, and then of course, then they kind of sign up to like a course or a webinar. So that's true. But I'm going to really pay attention to the likes, shares, and comments, and really correlate it. It's a very interesting observation. Thank you for sharing that. Um, how can people find you? Where can,
Anywhere, teacher obvious. I use the hashtag teacher obvious and I'm there. So you just
on LinkedIn, you can find her at Teacher Obvious on LinkedIn.
no, it's my name. It's my
Okay.
name, but I will send you my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, I have your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to tag you so people can find you on LinkedIn. And she's on Instagram, and she
Yes.
drops a lot of value on Instagram. And on my LinkedIn, there are interviews. So, and then besides that, you also share a lot of content via your podcast, where you're also interviewing guests and experts. And
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your podcast. You've had this for a while now.
Yes. I just wrapped up season 2. So for the coming 2 or 3 weeks, I am batching content again.
Mhm.
I usually interview people who have created a course. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be with me. I really love to feature people who created courses not with me, because then I know that they have created something, that they put a lot of thought into it, because I like to, go through the posts that they post on social media. And also I have a weekly YouTube
Live.
live show, so to say,
Okay.
where yeah, that also goes to the podcast where I give tips and tricks and all the things that you need to
Oh,
create a
okay, okay.
course.
Okay, I'm gonna catch you on YouTube. I haven't found you. I haven't come to your YouTube channel yet. I see all your other content. So I'm
It
gonna
is
catch.
only started, so it's okay. 2021 is for YouTube.
Okay, and I'm going to tag I'm going to tag her below. I'm going to share all the content below. And for any last words besides keep going, anything else you would like to share with our female entrepreneurs before I let you go?
Take up the space. You are always enough, never too much.
Ah, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for your time today and for being so generous in your time, with your day, with your schedule, and with your advice. Appreciate you joining me here today. And I will see you, of course, online. And again,
I
thank
am humbled. I am humbled. Thank you so much for having me.
you. You're welcome. Bye.